Hi, welcome back to BG Pythons. Let me introduce you to an absolutely fantastic little snake I've named Gilly. This is a Madu super dwarf reticulated python. Now, I used to keep reticulated python, a Malin reticulated python, which I got back in the late 80s. That reticulated python, so I've got a bit of a picture of me with one of my sisters holding. Back in the day, we didn't really have, take many photographs and things of our pet snakes, which is a bit of a shame. But he got pretty big, but it was a fantastic snake, despite all of the books telling you that they were, nasty and bite you and all of those sorts of things, and they were aggressive. I just didn't have that experience with him. But what he did have was a big appetite, and at the end of the day, he was big, so everything required extra sort of supersizing. So his viv was huge, and water bowl, everything that came out of him took more effort. So they've always been a massive favourite snake of mine. And for many years, I've been thinking, oh, they'd love to have a super dwarf. But really and truly wanted to get something that really wasn't going to get to, a big sort of size. So, be a true super dwarf. Now, this Madu, or Honey Island reticulated python, is from this collection of islands, which is a bit more south than where my Bolins came from, in Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. And as you can see, this is the island sort of collection is quite tiny little group of islands. There's Karumba, Kalatoa and Madu, and these are what, if you look at Reach Out Reptiles, they do loads of stuff on this, and they specialise in super dwarfs and dwarf reticulated pythons. It's absolutely fascinated watching their YouTube videos on these guys, and you can also see that they don't get too big. When you go have a look on his channel, you can see the sort of size differences. For the record, this is a female, and though they can still get to a decent size snake if they're well fed over the years, so maxing out at say sort of 9 feet, this one's parents were nowhere near that. And it's also worth noting reticulated pythons are a lot more active than Burmese and African rocks and anacondas and things like that, so they tend to be a lot more slender, so not so heavy. As you can see, literally since I've had this little snake, it's been good as gold handling. It's far more active. They're very intelligent snakes. Like the Bolins seem to have this sort of intelligence about them as well. Very intelligent snakes. He's now just chilling out on my hand, which is, pretty cool. Just so much more interesting than ball pythons. They literally just are. Just more interesting to watch. They're more interactive. It's arguably, this is a normal Madu, and it's just stunning. The colours are beautiful. These orange eyes. People, if you look at Reach Out Reptiles, for example, how they've been breeding super dwarfs with the different morphs from the mainland, so they're starting now to get a few generations in, so the sizes are being a bit smaller, so that there's going to be a huge market for these sort of smaller, more colourful, more active, more interesting pythons. That said, I just think the localities, and the same with the green tree pythons, I think the locality stuff's is brilliant. You don't want to change it. So I'm going to be on the lookout for a male Madu reticulated super dwarf python pure that in the future I perhaps could pair up with this girl. Again, thinking in the future, it's not a priority of mine. I just wanted to get back into having reticulated pythons again, but without having to be thinking of 12-foot Viv a few years down the line. It's worth noting that this girl is 9 months old. 9 months. Now, my mainland, when I got him as a hatchling, was pretty much this size straight away, and it was very, very similar, but the growth rate was just phenomenal. Another real plus with them compared to, say, a ball python is they're just easy to eat. They're eat readily. They're never going to have the fasting issues that we tend to have. I've set this one up in. I had another little run with Herptech Vivs. I got 2 more Herptech Vivs, and for £150. Was it £150? Yeah, £150. So £75 each for these Vivs, which I've hardly used. Absolute bargain. I mean, if they're brand new, they're sort of over 300 quid. So I've now got a nice stack of 4, which really has not cost me very much. I think in total, I'm probably looking at about, for the cost of 1, I've got 4. So absolute bargain. But what I've done with this little retic, let's give them the space. So just so people know the dimensions, these are the 90 centimetres wide by 50 centimetres high by 60 centimetres deep. I've put in a UV, Shade Dweller UV from Arcadia, and I've also got to do the same as my Boelen's pythons have, which is with the deep heat projector type infrared bulbs, which is perfect in Herptechs because they have the little space where you can put them so they're not actually in the cage, so they don't need anything around them. Now, when you look at the temps and the humidity for these guys on Madu throughout the year, the temperatures are, let's just double check, yeah, the temperatures go to a high of sort of 28 to 30 degrees C, so that's mid to high 80s Fahrenheit, and a low of 20 to 21 degrees C or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, presumably in the evenings. So it's quite a nice sort of range, which is pretty similar to the Boelen's pythons. Humidity wise is interesting. It tends to be around the sort of 80% mark all year round. And so what I'm kind of getting at the moment, if I don't do anything, the cage sort of sits at about 40%. I think it's saying 38 at the moment, humidity. So I've got orchid bark in there as a substrate, and what I'm sort of providing is just again using the white python hatchling egg-laying box. Sorry, I'm using that with some sphagnum moss in, and it's just slightly damp, just to have that sort of humid hide type thing as a choice. But if I'm honest, at the moment, it just literally hangs out in one of these pretty much during the day, and then comes out early evening and just lays out on the branch behind, and just watching me wandering around and doing stuff. So tremendously, I mean, it's been good as gold. I mean, I've taking her poor thing out of her lovely little hide in her log. No aggression, no hissing, no trying to strike, no biting, and is not trying to get away from me. It's just sitting quite calmly in my hand, just chilling out. What an awesome snake to have. And I'll go as far to say, I mean, I've always been a fan of retics. I do think this is a contender for the best python that you can buy. They're not overly expensive like a Boelen's python would be. Just beautiful to look at, active, not aggressive, though. Like with all animals, and particularly with all snakes, there's always exceptions to the rule, and that can often be because people aren't interacting with them that much, so they're just not used to being played around with and stuff. But I'm thoroughly pleased to have this in my collection, and she is absolutely stunning. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming Gilly to the team. And I will be doing some more update videos as I go along. I'll be doing an update very shortly on my Boelen's pythons because they've grown a little bit. They're starting to change colour and give that sort of 6-7 months of having them. And they're over, getting well into over a year old now. Just to tell you how I've got on, what's gone right, what's not gone right. So far, I can, as a bit of a spoiler, everything seems to be going okay with them. Touch wood, they're all going pretty well. This beauty has not long shed her skin, and that's always a good sign. Shed her skin and had something to eat. She's only been with me for a couple of weeks, and I'm over the moon. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell button for that next video, and I look forward to hearing any comments or hearing any stories that you might have with these guys. Anyway, take care.